Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight for this week's episode of College Journey Conversations. We are so excited to have Jonathan Parks here with us tonight, all the way from Detroit, Michigan. We haven't had anybody out from the Great Lakes area, and we are so excited to have him. Thank you, Jonathan, for coming and talking to us tonight about college majors and career choice and how we can utilize certain assessments to make it happen. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here with us tonight.
Mark, thank you for having me, and I'm honored to be the first individual here from definitely Michigan and Detroit. Did you say the Midwest as well?
Oh, yeah, we haven't had anybody from the Midwest either, so hey.
Okay, boom.
Good stuff. I'm excited to have you here, and we're going to be talking about a lot of fun stuff tonight as it relates to assessments. Now, this is, of course, as everyone knows and is maybe joining us tonight, it is about, college journey, the journey to college. And so a lot of that entails getting to know and wanting to figure out what to major in, aside from where to go to college, but what to major in. And ultimately, the goal is to identify a particular choice of careers, right? So we're going to be talking a lot about that as we move forward tonight, Jonathan. But before we do, I know that I would love to, and I'm sure our viewers would love to hear a little bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about what you do now, and kind of why it is you do what you do. So share with everyone with us.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a stroke survivor. Suffers a stroke as a baby, left me paralyzed on my left side. I always share that piece of the story for those individuals who are just struggling with anything. I think it's important that we recognize we all have different struggles and that perseverance is important. First generation. Went to a school outside of Detroit in Rochester, Michigan called Oakland University. Received my undergrad in liberal arts. I went on to get a master's in public administration. From there, I wanted to be a director of a nonprofit. I didn't really choose which one. I just knew I wanted to be a director of nonprofit. Didn't really work out. So I got into pre-college grant work with the Gear Up program, which is a federal grant. From the Gear Up program, I went to Chicago and I did student activities, leadership development, and Greek initiatives. I also dabbled in charter school with creating them and authorizing them here in Michigan. And for the last 7 years, I've been managing, directing 3 grants, 2 federal and 1 state grant in Michigan designed around college readiness and increasing retention rates.
Wow.
So
that takes a lot of work. I mean, isn't managing grants is not an easy task, right?
It's not. And I'm happy you're one of the few to recognize how much hard work it is. I don't want to take the grant objectives is not easy. So if you have the right skill set, I think that you can manage a grant. The grant objectives are very aggressive to achieve and accomplish. And 3 at a time can be very daunting, but I think I've kind of mastered the art of balancing and giving them all equal attention.
Very, very cool. And even getting those grants, that's kind of a huge reward for the work that you're working on, right? I mean,
absolutely. It goes hand in hand.
Now, who gets to benefit from these grants?
The citizens. I want to say the citizens of Detroit. A lot of young students between the 7th and 12th grade in the Detroit metropolitan area. Annually, I probably service 2,600 to 3,500 students a year.
Dude, that is phenomenal, and hands out to you. Thank you so much for the work that you do and serving those students and making it possible for them to get their education completed. That is phenomenal and so admirable. Thank you, Jonathan, for doing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you've gotten involved in. I know that you and I share some common interest, and that's one of the reasons why I thought it would be really exciting for you to join us here on the College Journey Conversations about assessments as it relates to careers, college majors, and identifying your own particular interests in that. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved in and associated with these assessments and being a certified practitioner like myself.
Well, do you have time for a story?
I do. Let's do it. Let me hear it.
One day, my coach called me, and I guess there was a conversation where my name popped up twice in two different circles. So he called and asked me, like, what are you doing in the universe? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just working. So he said, I have a training that I'm doing. It's a week long, and I think you should come down to the training. And it's on academic coaching.
Nice.
So I went down to the training, and people from all different universities are there, large and small, and it's on academic coaching. But the assessment that he used to kick the training off was a Myers Briggs assessment. And he goes into how he used coaching in his programs to help his students connect major to career. And I'm like, wow, that's phenomenal. And I took the assessment, and I've never taken an assessment before. This is my first time taking it. And I was just floored at how accurate it was.
Yeah.
In the room, I had to be 30. I'm 38 now. I was 37. I'm 37 and I'm excited. I'm like, oh my sweet baby, like this assessment. Well, first I said test, like, oh, this test gets me. Oh, it's not a test, it's an assessment, right? So I got that education very quick. So I'm sitting here at 37, like, if I would have had this when I was entering college, it could have helped me cut back on the amount of times I changed my major.
Right.
And I've taken probably 2 assessments in my whole lifetime. Assessments wasn't really something that was offered to me in the K-12 setting. I didn't really take one until college when I was undecided. An advisor gave me an assessment, and she told me I was in the wrong major. That's to switch majors. I know for a fact it was not the Myers-Briggs assessment, but I can't recall what assessment it was. So I felt like a kid in a candy store that I had this new tool on my tool belt, and I wanted to get it out to as many students in my program as possible. So that's what really got me geared up and excited, because I had to finish that training first. Then I had to leave. I left the next week. So I went from North Carolina to Seattle.
Okay.
I went to Seattle for my Myers-Briggs training.
Nice.
So I was going like week to week to week to week. I did 4 certifications back to back.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I know those certifications take time, huge investment, and you learn a lot about an individual and the many facets that kind of are ingrained in each of us to identify the key interests that drive us. Recognizing the fact that careers are motivated by our own interests, and we pursue those things, right? We pursue the things that we enjoy. Being able to identify our interest early helps drive what career choice we might make. And it further demonstrates whether or not we'd be satisfied in that career, right? So I work with students, I work with high school students, Jonathan, and as it relates to their journey to college. So when we're talking about which college is the best fit, we have to keep in mind what is important to major in for them. And so to identify, because many students and many parents are like, gosh, Mark, can you help us find out, what major, not only what school, but what major should we should we get involved in?
Mhm.
Because if we choose a college that doesn't have the appropriate major, then we've chosen the wrong college, right? Because we're going to end up changing majors. We'll likely have to change college. And when we do all that, it's starting to get costly now, right? Because we're shifting all these gears. So it's great to identify good college fit based on one factor being the college major. It further demonstrates that, you know, our interests are driven not only into our career choice, but also in and through our college major. If we can identify our interests early enough, and we administer our assessments as early as sophomore year, junior year of high school,
Right.
sometimes as late as the senior year if they haven't done it yet. And I'm telling you, Jonathan, I don't know if you've experienced this yourself, but I just see light bulbs just going off in these students' minds,
Right.
and expanding their options. And you know, the one of the best moments I've ever had was when I get to work with a particular student who has had a similar assessment results as I had personally. My personal assessment results for the strong interest inventory that we're going to talk about in just a minute was interesting, because one of the occupations that it recommended for me in a list of my top 10, right, was bartender. It's like the fourth one is a bartender. And I'm like, man, you know, that's a hard thing to swallow, trying to imagine me as a bartender. But what's very interesting about that, and I communicate this with my students, is that I may never be a bartender, okay?
Right.
And I may never set foot behind a bar to serve drinks, although it's nice to know that I've got that as a backup, right? Like that'd be a good fit for me, right? But it's good to know that I probably won't ever step in those shoes. However, what's more important to me is to identify that there are some similar characteristics that are required of a bartender that I share.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to drill down and say, what is it about a bartender that is required of them, that are skill sets that I have that I can take on to other careers and exercise those. And so the strong interest inventory allows you to kind of broaden your scope of understanding and realize that the skill sets that you have isn't you know, dovetailed into a very specific career, but a whole breadth of careers and options that are available out there. And it allows them to explore and move beyond the very small fenced in area that they've placed themselves in because they want to be an architect. Okay, that's great. But what other careers share those same skills that have the opportunity for you to expand and really kind of blow out those interests that you have? Do you find that to be the same, Jonathan?
I do. I did an assessment with a client, and florist came up, and she was just like, oh, I don't want to be a florist. I hate the dirt. I don't want to open up a flower shop, because her question was all about like what's next. She's been in the industry. She's been in one industry for a majority of her career, and she was looking for something new. And I said, well, how do you feel about flowers? And she says, I love them. I have to have fresh cut flowers every week. And I said, that's all it's saying. It's not telling you that you're going to become a florist. I'm not asking you to invest in a flower shop, but in some aspects of your life, you enjoy flowers. So I had to double down and explain that the strong measures interest as well. Everything is not so much about career. And I think when people take it, their mind just fixated on that one part, when there's probably like 3 or 4 parts they should really focus on, especially when we're going over the basic interest, scale, right? My whole thing, and I don't want to jump ahead, but my whole thing is like, are these things showing up in your life right now? And if not, then what are you doing to get them to be present? And then it sit there like, oh my, like, well, what are some things I can do? So, that goes into passion and, maybe living out your values. But I kind of love when those moments pop up and people kind of get freaked out. Like, I don't know anything about flowers. I'm like, I'm not asking you to change your career to become a florist.
Right.
I'm asking you to make sure you buy flowers every week.
Right. Right. It's to recognize those interests as
Right.
being important.
Right.
And that they're not evil, like they're not a hindrance, but
Right.
more so a contribution to
Right.
what you can engage in and what you can become.
And
Go ahead.
it's interesting you bring up the bartender. I've seen that come up probably like 3 times. And individuals will say, well, I don't even know how to make a cocktail.
Right.
And I'm like, do you love talking to people? Do you love listening? Do you love helping people? No, a lot of services such as bartenders or even beauticians or barbers, in a lot of ways, these people, and I don't want to say they're like counselors, but a lot of people download
Right.
to these 3 individuals in these service areas.
Right.
So they have a great ear for listening, and sometimes they have valuable jewels to give people.
Right.
And to me, and you know this, that all falls on the social scale.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So when I see that pop up and they kind of get freaked out, I just love willing them back in.
Right.
And everyone thinks about, okay, well, bartender, they think about Tom Cruise and cocktails. I'm aging myself now.
Right. Right.
But I'm like, don't look at it holistically. Other than you seeing a person making you a cool, refreshing beverage.
Right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about what these assessments are all about, but it's so very critical in my work to help students identify their areas of interest. And they probably are, without the assessment, able to identify a handful of them. But making those connections between what those interests mean and how they impact a particular career choice is mind-blowing to them. And so, and really unmistakably valuable to use, not just for this moment, but for years to come, because as you know, their strong results rarely change after the age of 21. And that's pretty significant. Because moving into career choices, internships, whether or not they're going to live in this community or that community, volunteering for this organization or running for this office, all those decisions can stem from the value they obtained in an assessment they took back in as a junior or senior in high school, or freshman and sophomore in college, like those you work with. And use that information to further reinforce that decision or help conclude that's a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I found a study that I'd love to reference here. It's a study out of the Journal of Education and Practice.
Okay.
It's a study done back in 2016 on the influence of students' interest on career choice among first-year university students. Now, it happens to be a study that was done in public and private universities out of Kenya, which I found to be very, very interesting, as it has no United States influence in terms of its in terms of its subject. But it says here that choosing the right career is important to ensuring that individuals lead rewarding lives, are motivated at their jobs, and can achieve remarkable productivity. And I found that to be very fascinating and very true as it relates to leading rewarding lives. Now, what is the connection between career choice and rewarding lives when it comes to the strong interest inventory? Tell us a little bit about that, Jonathan.
Well, so again, going back to the basic interest scale, and I always tell individuals I work with, this is where you want to live. This is where you want to make sure that these things are showing up in your life right now. I connect that to passion.
Yep.
Right? Like, what are the things that you're most passionate about? and how are those things, showing up on a daily basis. You and I, we're lucky. We get to work in the field that we're passionate about, and I think it allows us to live out our values. People may be surprised, and I'm 38. I see a lot of 30 somethings that are not happy about what they do because they're not passionate about it. And what they did was that they never exercised the things they were interested in. And I hate to say this, I don't think that the school systems, especially high schools, give them the opportunity to do that. Right? We need more spaces for young adults to try and fail safely.
Yes.
Get out there, try a lot of things very quickly, learn from them. By the time you're ready to enter a university, you kind of, think about Gen Ed. Gen Ed I call it Gen Ed, the buffet of classes. They give you a little bit of this, they give you a little bit of that. And then if you like it, you go back for more. Right? The strong assessment, especially when you go to those different scales, especially the occupational scales, when you're looking at all those 130 different options, and you can walk a person through, okay, so how do you feel about this scale? How do you feel about that scale? Look at the things that are, 40 and above, the lingo, the language. Yep. But they never had the option to preview that at an early stage when it didn't cost them anything as far as trial and error.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to help people identify their passion. Right? Because that passion very well may be a hobby. And they say, well, Parks, how do I know the difference? And I say these three things. One, first, what are you passionate about? Two, what can you be the best in the world at? And three, what will people pay you to do? Nice. Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
I love music, but I do not call myself a DJ. I have respect for those individuals who have taken the time to master the craft and art of being a DJ. I call myself a mood controller, right? I have a set of turntables, the whole nine, but I've never dedicated the time to be masterful at it.
Right.
Am I passionate about it? Yes. Do people pay me to do it? Yes. But it's one element that's missing. So therefore, that's a hobby.
Right.
And this is what I walk, my clients through. I'm like, you need all three. You need all three to hopefully be a career.
Right.
If you don't have all three, if you're not going to put the skin in the game to be the best in the world at it, then that's a hobby.
It's like mine, Parks. Since you've shared a little bit about your hobby, I love gardening.
Okay.
Love to get my hands dirty. Love to plant the flowers and the vegetables, love to work the soil, love it. I'll get out there and sweat like the best of them. But I'm not going to do landscape design, and I'm not going to work for a landscape designer or get into agriculture. That would have been a bad choice for me for a particular major. So that for me is my hobby. Right?
I could have used you a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, with age, things change, right? I'm down to one plant a day, right? It's too hot out there right now.
I'm sure it is.
It's good stuff, though. What's important in what you're saying is to have a degree at which you understand or have knowledge of the things you really like and the things you are very interested in, to know the difference between a hobby and a career, or even a major, right? So right. The study went on to say that, for this particular study that I referenced earlier, 92% of those that responded indicated that having prior knowledge of what a career entails is important to developing the interest in that career.
Absolutely.
So they further support that very understanding of needing to know more about what it is you're wanting to possibly get a career in, I've always been fascinated by the fact that an average person changes their career up to 7 times in a lifetime. I'm on 4, right? I'm on number 4. I don't suspect that I'm going to change it again because I really absolutely love what I do, and I think I found my sweet spot as it relates to careers. So I think I'm gonna stand right here, right now. But the fact that 7 is that national average for an individual is really fascinating to me, and definitely says something about the lack of understanding of people knowing what it is they're getting into, so to speak.
Well, Mark, if I may,
Yeah,
I think that part of the message has been go to school, find a job.
that's right. That's right.
That's it, right? So a job, I would be interested to know, did they change their career 7 times? Did they change their job?
That's right. And,
7?
and likely it's the job, right?
Right. Right.
There's often a confusion between the understanding of what a job is and a career is. Job choice, career choice.
Right.
And so I would dare say that you're right in that particular statistic being somewhat skewed in recognizing those differences. However, I think it does speak rather valuably to the lack of understanding of what it is they're really getting into in terms of career choice.
Right. Well, you probably know better than most. In a lot of K-12 curriculums, they don't have a lot centered around career readiness. They've probably in the last 3 years, they have went to different online career cruising, things of that nature. But outside of that, I haven't seen an extensive lot of that's focused on career readiness for individuals that's in the K-12 system.
Right. Right. No,
That's your experience.
I think you're right there. And there's not a whole lot of career mindedness and direction given. Some exploration is given with, bringing dads in to share a little bit about, or moms in to share a little bit about their careers and kind of what they do. And we always see them in the movies lined up as, the astronaut, the fireman, and all of those demonstrated in those settings. But that's to introduce the students, I think, to what careers are more noticeable, I guess you can say.
Right.
There's always that dad that's a consultant, and I always like, dude, that's a good career. What's that? Like he's getting like shamed on that, and he shouldn't be shamed on that. That's a good choice, right?
There's a couple of movies that's coming to mind right now, but I can't think of. Are you a movie buff?
I'm not a huge movie buff.
Okay.
I'm horrible at names and movie titles, but
Yeah.
I do watch.
Okay.
Good stuff. So, the study goes on to say that prior knowledge acts as a lens through which we view and absorb new information. And so I think that's very good in recognizing that, gaining this knowledge for these particular careers through your particular interests is so very important to kind of draw conclusions on which direction you're going to go. Careers are super important. Assessments are important. The strong interest inventory goes on. We can see a little bit of graphic behind us that says, need some career direction for what to major in. That's really kind of what the strong interest inventory is all about. It's an assessment that is a perfect career tool to help you decide on the right major and what steps to take after graduation. I can't tell you the number of not only high school seniors, but also college seniors that get near and close to graduation. And you ask them, so what are you going to do after graduation? And they're like, I have no idea, and of course the joke, although this is a career, right? But the joke is always, I think I might just become a barista, but all that money spent on education, or all that time in education, and they're fixing beverages, hot and cold beverages for families. And there's so much more to identifying your areas of interest into careers that is so validating. In fact, in a recent survey, 72% of students reported that they were more enthusiastic about their future careers after taking the strong interest inventory.
Nice.
And I have to say, Parks, that that's definitely the truth to this, because in my administering this particular assessment, I mentioned earlier, you know, their minds are just like pop rocks, right? Like it's just, they're just blown. And they get excited about what it is that they might actually get into. You know, inside the strong interest inventory, there's a research component. The ONET system is there for students to explore, and it's directly connected with the strong interest inventory, especially the digital version that we offer all of our students after they take the results in digital form, which allows them to kind of link directly through into the ONET system to be able to really explore those career options. And you know, they might find the name of a particular career or occupation that they're like, I have no idea, what is that? In fact, I've actually sat in sessions where the students are asking me, what is that? And I'm like, I have no idea. I've never heard of it before. But here's how you find out, right? So just go into the ONET system and you can find out what skill sets are required for this particular career. And so do they match your particular skill sets? It's going to match up actual salary information at the higher end, at the lower end, and the middle stage. What academics are required? Do you need a high school degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or is it best if you have a graduate, you know, a higher degree, a higher level degree? This information is super fascinating. And for me, I think it's even better that it tells you whether or not it's a dying career or a growing career. And that's pretty exciting to know that you're getting into a particular career that might be actually on the swing up.
Right.
You know, the Strong has helped millions of students, just like the students that we're talking about, to identify interests, their particular interests, and to use that information for several reasons. And this is how we utilize, and I think you utilize, the Strong Interest Inventory in the same way. One of them, of course, is to actually find courses they could actually enjoy. You know, when they sit down with their academic advisor in college for the very first time, or even as a sophomore or junior, as they're mapping out their academic journey, it is important for them to choose the courses that they're actually going to enjoy, especially if it's on the elective level. Like they can actually choose from a list of electives and choose 3 of these 7. And they're like, which one should I do? And the Strong Interest Inventory helps identify those areas of interest, and can provide a resource of subjects that would be and could actually be of great interest for them to get plugged into. That's a huge resource for students, that they could find courses they'd actually enjoy instead of be at risk of dropping out of those courses, right?
Right. Absolutely.
They can also identify career fields and occupations that they'd likely find rewarding. Look, I think you can attest, Parks, that if you're in a career that's not rewarding, how long are you going to stay in it?
Not very long. I don't want to put a time frame on it because I don't know different people's circumstances,
Right.
but not very long. I've seen people drag it out as long as they could, but then work performance goes down, morale goes down, right? Other issues start to pop up.
Yeah, and you know, it probably explains a little bit about why the average career change is like up to 7 in a lifetime, right? Because they get in career fields and occupations that they find very unsatisfying, and it doesn't reward them, and they're miserable. And so they move out of that one and into another one. The Strong also helps them choose a major that reflects their interest, right? If you are absolutely engaged and find interest in helping people, then it's so super important to find a major that reflects that, right? You don't want to go into a major that you find yourself behind a desk all the time and not engaged with individuals. So this is super important, and I think one of the huge keys of student success when it comes to finding the right major, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Do you work with students in finding their majors, or how are you working with students specifically?
With the strong,
Yes.
definitely that is all about connecting major to career, because research and data also shows that, well, I guess this complements the data you have, that students who enter into a university with a major in mind, even if they change that major, they graduate at a higher rate. So I'm just trying to have them identify, or I want them aware of where their interests lie. So they go in there with laser focus, and now the gen eds even become purposeful. And one thing I love about the strong assessment, especially when you're working with that junior, senior population, it suggests clubs that they should look into. It looks into internships they should look into. So actually today I was talking to a client, and they've never had an internship. So while we're going through their assessment, I was able to highlight different interns they should consider, and they was definitely pleased with that. And I've also had some individuals who were so strong, and their mind was set on a major. That was the only fear of taking the strong. They said I had a fear of this assessment because I didn't want it to tell me what I wanted to major in wasn't my major. But it always confirmed that you're on the right path. And what I was able to do with this one student was piece together how to make both majors kind of work.
Yeah.
They love politics, and they also love journalism.
Right.
So they said, well, what's a career like that? I said, well, you could be a political correspondent.
There you go.
No one has ever, they haven't put that together.
Right. Blend those two things.
Exactly. It's like, well, I know I don't want to run for office and, nothing like that, but I love journalism. But they never thought about being a political, correspondent. And then from there, we're able to, literally write out a 4 to 5 year plan.
Right.
Right. For, every year. And that included internships.
That's amazing. And that's really the art and value of the strong interest inventory, being able to identify those two pieces and learning how to blend those together in a consult with the student and the family. That's the way it works, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
The strong also helps students discover potentially satisfying work environments. And this is particularly interesting as it relates to skill sets. So as I mentioned earlier, getting into the ONET system, which kind of blows out those skill sets of what's required of those particular occupations, you can begin to kind of plug yourself into these and potentially discover those environments that would be satisfying and what's required. For instance, if you're going to be an accountant because you love the numbers and you love to work alone, right? Those two things are typically very common to be found in an accountant. But if you're wired and you got to be around people and you love to talk, that's going to be a problem.
Right.
Those are great skill sets to have.
Right.
But you're either going to find yourself short-lived as an accountant, or someone's going to find themselves in the HR department very quick. Don't you agree?
You're saying find yourself in the HR department for the wrong reason?
Right, for the wrong reasons. Right.
Yeah. Also, a good tool to complement the strong is the Where Do I Go Next book.
Yeah.
So I love how, and I start a lot of my sessions off asking individuals, pick 5 words to, describe yourself. And Another good exercise I ask them is to, list off. I give them about a minute or so to list off all the careers they've ever thought about, since
Yeah,
let's say 9 or 10. And I kind of use that before. So by the time we get to the BIS and then the occupational scales, I have them look at their list to kind of see if it even shows up. And then like the shock and awe of the reaction, they double down
yeah,
on the confirmation of the assessment.
yeah,
Because what individuals really don't understand is how data proven it is,
right.
right? And I always say, man lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? Uh, so they were like, oh my, like, how did you know this? Like, this wasn't me. Like, this not me. I did not know this until I reviewed your assessment.
Right.
But, I'm happy that what you say you're interested in and what you dreamed about since you was a kid, now we can map out a plan on how to make that a reality.
Right.
And unfortunately, and if you have any parents listening right now, I tell all my students, the parents is the first dream killer. Students would tell a parent early on what they want to do, and the influence of those parental figures is big.
Yeah, it is.
Right. A lot of students they go into certain majors because, well, I'm gonna be an engineer because my dad was an engineer, or I'm gonna be a doctor because my mom is a doctor.
Right.
I had a student who was an excellent tap dancer, and he wanted his major to be theater and dance. His parents was paying for school. His parents said, "You're gonna go to school. You have to become a doctor."
Right.
And this guy was like bummed out.
Right.
He eventually dropped out.
Yeah. Well, the motivation, the reward, right? The satisfaction of career, or in this case, major, was not there. And if it's not, it's going to it's going to be undervalued. Interestingly enough, you mentioned this, but the study goes on to say that individuals who make career choices, and I think career choices and major choices can be interchanged here, right? So individuals who make career choices from a point of ignorance and lack of information are likely to undervalue the importance of their particular career or major. And that goes for parents as well, I think. When they begin to undervalue the importance of the interests that their son or daughter has in a particular major or career field early in life, I'm with you, Parks. Their response to this can make or break that career choice in the future.
I connect careers to dating.
Yeah.
So when the person tells me, I'm like, okay, well, are you going to water it, nurture this relationship? Is this just, are you going to date? Or are you going to court? And they look at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, this is a commitment. So, are you going to, be here for a while? Do you want to keep your options open? Do you want to, go to different networking events and, career speed dating events? Or is this really the one? And if it is the one, how do you know?
Right.
Right? Like, how do you know?
Well, they have pretty office. That's how I know. Right. Well, that's not enough, is it, Parks?
It's not. But when you put it in, when you use that type of analogy, they're like, well, you know what? I'm not really that serious about even committing right now. And sometimes when you're a 20 something, you're in your 20s, you shouldn't be.
Right.
But you still should have a plan. I don't want you out there hopelessly just trying anything that comes in front of you. You should have a plan. You should have a goal that is all guided out. So luckily for me, I've had some jobs, Mark.
Right.
I've had a lot of jobs that, but when I got into my career, although I've been in 4 different universities, my career path is the same. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had some jobs.
Right. But not all of them have been pointing to a career.
Oh no, not at all. They was just a job. They was just like, you know what? I need some money.
That's right.
Right.
Well, in some sense, that's okay, because That's the satisfaction. That's the reward level that you're getting out of your job in that case.
Right.
When you start to get into a career, it's such more robust, and the reward has such deeper meaning and value to you. The money is great. Sometimes the money may not be there, depending on what the career is. Especially if you've pulled the whole entrepreneur card and you're starting out in a business. But either way, it has everything to do with reward and satisfaction in the long run.
But ironically, if I may share, all the jobs I had still matches up with my strong assessment.
Yeah, exactly.
Even before I even knew this thing existed,
right.
Back, all my jobs matches up with that.
That's because even without the assessment, I mean, we find great value in this assessment. We think it's phenomenal and for good reason. But even without the assessment, interests drive decisions. It's proven that interests cause people to congregate in the workplace in similar job responsibilities.
Okay.
Writers like to spend time with the writers. The accountants like to spend time with the accountants. The talkers like to spend time with the talkers. And those that are quiet like to spend time with those who are quiet. Interests drive these moments in our lives that are very significant to career choice and, in this case, college major choice. I would dare go as far as saying that interest will drive college decision, in fact, because with every student, there's a personality with interest there are and is a college with a personality that will meet that interest and personality. So I really think there's a good match there. I think that you're right on target with identifying that even without the assessment, those interests will drive your decisions in the career choices that you want. If you can't stand an auto parts store, then you won't work at an auto parts store because you hate fixing cars. That's not going to be an interest for you. But you're going to find an interest in something else that will drive a decision for a particular job, even though it may not be an occupational career.
Absolutely.
You and I are both certified practitioners with the strong interest inventory and the Myers Briggs. When we give these assessments, I feel like I'm giving a gift to students, right?
Yeah. I call it the cheat sheet to life.
Yeah, it is. And one of the driving forces for us at Capstone Educational Consultants is identifying more about who you are as an individual and learning about who you are. The Myers Briggs Type Indicator definitely pulls out more information about yourself than one should know on paper, in my opinion, right? Because as you read it, especially about yourself, you're like, man, this is like spot on, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nobody knows you better than you. And when you start to read it on paper, it's like, where did this come from? How did this happen?
Right.
So we actually use the Myers Briggs to begin working on college essay development.
Okay.
Because there's no better way for a student to communicate who they are than through the resources that help describe who they are.
That's a genius move right there. I may have to borrow that.
Right. Can I quote you on that there, Parks?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Right there. I didn't even pay you to say that. I like that, man.
Yeah, no, that's because as you say that, I think about all of the different characteristics and preferences that are revealed from that type indicator.
Right.
It's a million things you can do with that.
That's correct.
You can even connect. If you didn't have a strong tool, you could use the Myers Briggs for major and career as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is driving discovery on your own personality, how you process information,
right,
and how you kind of give information back to other people. this is like a valuable resource to learn about who you are. And, you know, as you're looking at getting into college, you're having to communicate to admissions professionals and others who you are. You can even go beyond college and go to the actual career interview, right? So your job interview, to that great job that you're wanting. And you sit down and they tell you, or they ask you the question, and Parks, you've probably been asked this question, like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And what's the first thing that goes through your mind? Absolutely nothing, because you can't figure out what to either say first or what's most important to say. When you can drive home that 30-second speech through the use of information you've learned on the Myers Briggs and the strong interest inventory, you're going to hit a home run every time.
Well, I love that question. Now, I always have something to say, but that's different. That's a different reason. When I was younger and I had my stroke, I was recovering from that. I had to drive conversations. I felt like I had to go first because there were certain words that I wanted to avoid. So my wittiness and just, you know, comebacks with just they're very quick. So I'm always thinking something. So, and I love interviewing. I'm one of those weird people. Like, I would just go to an interview just to kind of see how they interview. Right. Even if I don't want the job, I would do a tune-up interview.
Yeah, that's
like this is practice.
Yeah, that's genius.
And you know, I remember once I was at an interview and I said, well, why didn't you ask me this? I would have asked it this way. And they're looking at me like, so do you want this job? I'm like, no, I'm just here to fine tune my interviewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's genius stuff. So these assessments, I think, are absolutely invaluable. I think Detroit, Michigan is a better city knowing that you're there, helping young people do and learn about themselves in ways that they would not otherwise be able to do so. I think the adults that come to see you, because these assessments can be used both on a high school level, college level, or even in a career re-evaluating moment. They're valuable, and I would encourage anyone in the Detroit area to reach out to you, Parks, and sit down with you and discover a little bit more about who they are through them. There's definitely no hurt in having someone assist in helping find and connect dots for life. And that's what you do. That's what I do. I think that the world's a better place because we do these assessments, and they're valuable tools that can help young people find direction and purpose in life. And I'm excited to know that there's someone else on the north side of our country that does it. And I'm excited that you had the opportunity to come here and join us tonight on College Journey Conversations, and excited to learn more about you, Parks. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Where do I send a check?
Oh, no. Well, we can talk afterwards, but no check necessary. No check, that's not what this is about.
I know. I'm just teasing.
Right. I'm going to take just a second and reach out to those that are still watching with us tonight. We want to thank all of our viewers and watching College Journey Conversations and popping in and listening for just a little bit. Meeting Parks, great man, and loved having him here. Jonathan, we're going to send you off. We thank you so much for your contribution and the work you do. Feel free to reach out. Tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you if they want to.
Instagram, j.d.parks. Website is jonathondparks.com. My email is letswork@jonathondparks.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan. We certainly appreciate you. We're glad that you have an opportunity to kind of share with other people too, and now they can reach out to you at any time. You're going to be able to find this broadcast on our website at capstoneed.com, College Journey Conversations, and of course all the time right here on Facebook Live at Capstone ED. So thank you so much, Jonathan, and thank you everybody for watching. we're going to say goodbye. Bye now.